We got some very interesting news from NBA 2K Lab doing some testing. They're letting us know that when you use the right stick, your green window is 70% larger. Wow. We knew that you were getting a boost. We just didn't know how big that boost was. And this is exactly why I started converting over to the right stick shooting. So in their test, they found out that when you're using the button for whatever shot they were using, you have 69 milliseconds in that release where you can actually get a green. And then with the same release, when you're using the right stick shooting, you've got 115 milliseconds to get the green. So that's a big deal. You don't want to be missing out on that going forward. At least I know I don't. So I'm going to take some L's. I'm willing to be looking a little funky out there because the right stick shooting, it does have its cons. Like right now, sometimes you can't pull those shots as fast as you could with the button. Sometimes the shot doesn't even come out. Like I was doing the lethal shooting drill, and sometimes I would make a shot and then I get the ball and I'm shooting again, but he never shoots. So I have to let go of the right stick, then try it again to get him to shoot. So there's some glitches and they said they're going to patch it and fix that. So sometimes you're better off just using the button, and maybe the right stick shooting, maybe it can be strategic depending on what's happening in the game, where you are, when you catch the ball. Maybe when you have a lot of time, you can switch over to use it. But I'm going to be using it. I'm going to incorporate that into my game, and I'm already doing it. That's why I'm just trying to take every shot with the right stick, because I figure get as much practice as possible. It's going to make this transition a lot easier. And what made me actually try it out is JD, my boy JD. We were playing a session. He was on his center. And when he was left open, he was knocking down his threes. He was consistent. We played multiple games. A lot of us, maybe we had a good game of shooting, then a bad game, then a good one, then a bad one, then a bad one. But every game, he was just consistent. And when he was open and he would use the right stick, he had tremendous confidence. And his rating was lower than everybody else's. He had a 78-3, but he was knocking them down. So after that session, I said, hold up, I got to give this a shot. And then I tried it out and it actually was greening, but I didn't know you had a 70% increase. And look at him trying to take the charge. He's reaching. I gotta be teaching. Getting that shot clock cheese foul. Another big topic of discussion is the skill-based matchmaking. And it's a very interesting conversation. One issue, the main issue, is that if you are good at the game, it's going to take a long time to get a game because they're trying to match somebody to your skill. There's not as many people that are as good as you. So they're searching and searching. And the next thing you know, good players are waiting around 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Some people even said they were waiting 15 minutes. And we can't have that because matchmaking is supposed to be quick. That's the whole point of matchmaking. So you can't be out here waiting that long to get a game. But there's areas of this game where it's working nicely. The No Squad Rec Center is so enjoyable. I played my first maybe 15 games or so in there with a bunch of randoms, and it was very fun. So what I think is happening in there is that every player that goes in there, they're trying to match you up, your matchup, against somebody around your skill level. So then your teammates, it's the same thing. And then when you get in the game, it's supposed to be equal. Yeah, sometimes one team has more chemistry. Sometimes one team is just better. But the gameplay is still enjoyable. You're not going to see the zones. You're not going to see 5-out offense every single time. There's going to be more variety. People are going to be cutting, setting screens. There's going to be a lot of different types of gameplay going on. And you can still level up. So you can lose a game. But if you have a high teammate grade, let's say you had a good game, you're still getting a good amount of XP. Because let's say you play a really competitive Rec Center game and then your team loses and you don't have a high teammate grade, because a lot of these competitive games, people are just standing around on the perimeter. There's 5-out, there's zones. Maybe 1 or 2 players are actually doing something on offense and on defense. It's basically like a one-on-one or a pick and roll, whatever. So you're not really getting teammate grade. So if you lose one of those games, you're not going to get any XP. And sometimes even when you win the game, you don't get any XP either. You could win the game, but you're still losing. And I've posted some of these gameplays before. In the last few 2Ks, I remember we had a game where the guy on the other team, he had a D+ teammate grade. He scored like 30, maybe 40 points. He ended up losing. We ended up winning. And I remember after we won that game, because it was a real sweaty game, we literally just left the lot, because sometimes they'll give you a rematch. And we were like, hell no, we're not trying to play another 30 minutes of that. Even though we won the game, right? We won the game, but we felt like we lost the game. Everybody had a low teammate grade. Nobody really got any XP. It was boring. People were standing around. They were in a zone, so we had to break the zone. You know, you got to do whatever you got to do. We were just not trying to play that BS. And so that's not really happening when you're playing Rec this year. And then when you go into Rec with a squad, you only play another squad. I don't know if they did it like that last year. I didn't really play online last year, so I don't know. But that's great because that was the problem in previous 2Ks. If I go into the rec center and I have a full team, they used to match you up with people who didn't have a full team. It could be one guy playing randomly. All 5 guys could be playing randomly, and they would just put them together, and then you would play them. So, of course, you're going to stomp them, especially if the other team is running a zone. They're talking, communicating. And then the other team, they're just a bunch of random people. They have no chemistry. That's a terrible matchup. But now this year, you can't even go into that door. The door where the teams are, it won't even let you enter the door. You have to go in there with a team. And that's why some games, you'll see that they start with 1 AI. So maybe they only had 4 to play with. 2K can't give them another player because they have 4 and you can't go in there with 1. I don't know if maybe you can go in there with 3 and then 2 other people go in there with 2 and then they match you up and they make 5 that way. I don't know if that's possible. But the fact that a team has to play a team, that's the way it should be. So in the rec center, I think the skill-based matchmaking is fine. I think it should stay like that. I think it's pretty good. And I'm seeing a lot of people that are playing rec, they're enjoying how the skill-based matchmaking is making it more fun, especially when you're in the no squad version. But obviously you go to the park, you go to theater, right? They have all these different ways that you can play all these other modes. They're separating the players. So maybe they shouldn't do it in there. I don't know. But I mostly play rec and I don't have a problem with the skill-based matchmaking. What's happening is that if you're playing with your squad and you have a weakness on your team, you're going to see it because the players are better that you're matched up against. And it's going to be like that every game. So if you have somebody who can't rebound, their rebound is looking fishy. The other center on the other team, he's going to be going crazy. He's going to be crashing the glass. It's going to be ridiculous. If you're not protecting the paint, they're going to be running in the paint. They're going to be doing backdoor cuts, crazy lobs. The games that I've played this year are a lot closer with teams. And when I've played with different players, sometimes I play with a group of 5 and our defense is elite. And then the next day we'll play with a couple different players. And then all of a sudden our defense is trash. We can't stop anything. And that's really what skill-based matchmaking is. You got to put together a 5 that actually works. Because if you go out there with weaknesses, you're going to lose. And the thing is, most games now have skill-based matchmaking. I can't think of a game that you play online that doesn't have it. So 2K didn't have it. Now they put it in. I doubt they're going to remove it. I think it's going to be there to stay. Maybe they'll make some changes, but it's probably going to be there to stay. It definitely is fun, and no matter what game you're playing, to get some easy games every once in a while. And I think even with the skill-based matchmaking, that's going to happen because sometimes the game is going to think they're on your level, then you get out there and they're not, and you're stomping on them. That's what I've seen in the no squad rec centers. Sometimes, even though it's supposed to be evenly matched, you just see one team, it's just a disaster because it just didn't come together when they stepped out there on the court. So I don't know. This is a debate. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you've been playing this game, what do you think about the skill-based matchmaking? What changes do you want to see, or do you think it's fine and they should leave it as is? And there's one other problem with skill-based matchmaking, because a lot of the really good players, for example, let's say you're a stage player. Stage players are constantly playing really good players. So their stats, they're not going to look that good. Maybe their win percentage isn't as high because they're always in a really good game. So when that stage player steps out of the stage and goes to some other mode, The game might think, hey, this guy's not really that good. Look, he's been losing or his stats are a little bit low. Let's match him up with this guy. Then you get in the game and he's dominating the other guy. Because the game doesn't know, hey, that's a stage player. This sequence was funny. He tried to self-lob, so I said, let me show him how to self-lob, but I was too close. And I blow my lob as well. But here's another example. Let's say you're playing No Squad Rec Center by yourself for a whole week. And you're losing a lot of games, and your plate, it's not really progressing because you win, you lose, you kind of stay in the lower tier. Then it's the weekend or it's another day, and finally your homies are there, you get together, you were all playing randomly, but now you're on a team. So now the skill-based matchmaking, they look at your stats, they look at your plate, they're like, all right, these guys aren't really that good, let's match them up with these guys that aren't really that good either. Now you get into the game and you're stomping on them. Because the game thought you were as good as them, because how are they determining, right? How do they know when to match up who with who? I've seen people say that players are making 60 overall so that they can bypass the skill bait. Like there's a lot of ways that you can mess this up. But when people are waiting forever to find games, after about a minute of searching, you got to broaden up the search. It shouldn't take that long. My songs, He Quit the Game, Lob City, and My Camo are now available on all streaming platforms. Here's my updated build, a two-way fun stopper. Shout out to Moof for the build name. Time to dance. Ooh, got him. Oh, damn. It's time to dance. Ooh, ankles, ankle breaker. You gotta finish the play, score, make it score.